اللهم صل. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام وقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: إيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلعلع كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. وقال: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب هوذي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمة. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أمة، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جدا، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي وشافي أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل عليان تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومى بيده يمنى إلى السماء وقال: صلوات. صلوات. اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم، وعدو لمن آذاهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. وجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبريل: يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ وقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبريل: يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سالسا؟ فقال الله: نعم قد أذنت لن. فهبط الأمين جبريل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم. فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وهلا، إنه نعم قد أذنت لن. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء. وقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعاتنا ومحبينا، إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعاتنا ومحبينا، وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صلی علی محمد ایک اور صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. کربو بلا کے مائے منور تجھے سلام. کربو بلا کے مائے منور تجھے سلام. جلتی زمین پہ لاشے بے سر تجھے سلام. جلتی زمین پہ لاشے بے سر تجھے سلام. رو کر حسین کہتے تھے بیٹے کی لاش پر. رو کر حسین کہتے تھے بیٹے کی لاش پر. خط میں لکھا ہے سوران اکبر تجھے سلام. خط میں لکھا ہے سوران اکبر تجھے سلام. ٹکڑے تیرے بدن کے سمیٹے حسین نے. ٹکڑے تیرے بدن کے سمیٹے حسین نے. پامال لاش قاسم مدتر تجھے سلام. پامال لاش قاسم مدتر تجھے سلام. مقتل میں ڈھونڈتی ہیں نگاہیں رباب کی. مقتل میں ڈھونڈتی ہیں نگاہیں رباب کی. ماں کے قرار علی اصغر تجھے سلام. ماں کے قرار علی اصغر تجھے سلام. زینب کے سر کے خون سے جو لال ہو گئی. زینب کے سر کے خون سے جو لال ہو گئی. اے تو ترے رسول کی چادر تجھے سلام. اے تو ترے رسول کی چادر تجھے سلام. تا حشر یوں ہی مجد ہوتی رہے ظفر تا حشر یوں ہی مجلسیں ہوتی رہے ظفر فرش ادائے پیمبر تجھے سلام فرش ادائے پیمبر تجھے سلام کرب و بلا کے مائے منور تجھے سلام بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات برائے تاجر ظہور امام زمان بلند تر صلوات کیا صرف مسلمان کے پیارے چرخ نوع بشر کے تارے حسین انسان کو بیدار تو ہو لینے دو ہر قوم پکارے گی ہمارے حسین کیا صرف ور محمد و آل محمد صلوات سلام کے چند اشعار ہدیہ سامعین ایک دفعہ پھر بآواز بلند تر صلوات جنگ کا منظر احد میں مصطفیٰ دیکھا کیے جنگ کا منظر احد میں مصطفیٰ دیکھا کیے لطف ربانی میں شان لافتہ دیکھا کیے لطف ربانی میں شان لافتہ دیکھا کیے جنگ کا منظر ہو رہا تھا پاک بیت کبریا دیکھا کیے مرتضی توڑا کیے بہت مصطفیٰ دیکھا کیے مرتضی توڑا کیے بہت مصطفیٰ دیکھا کیے جنگ کا منظر احد میں مصطفیٰ دیکھا کیے جن کی لفظوں پر نظر تھی وہ تلاوت میں رہے اور ہم وجہ نزول حضرت دیکھا اور ہم وجہ نزول حضرت دیکھا کیے جنگ کا منظر احد میں مصطفیٰ طالب خلد کے جانب ہمیں کھینچا کیا نزوا ادھر اور ہم ادھر مڑ مڑ کے سوئے کربلا دیکھا خود کی جانب ہمیں کھینچا کیا ہم ادھر مڑ مڑ کے سوئے کربلا دیکھا میرے تربت میں نکیریں آ کے بے خود ہو گئے کچھ نہ پوچھا سرے خاک شفا دیکھا کچھ نہ پوچھا سرے خاک شفا دیکھا کیے جنگ کا منظر احد میں دفعہ دیکھا اور ہنس گئے مسکرا کر چل بسے دیر تک شبیر روئے میں لگا دیر تک شبیر روئے میں لگا دیکھا یہ جنگ کا منظر احد میں. سورہ فاتحہ. کیسے بیان ہو خیمے میں آنا حسین کیسے بیان ہو خیمے میں آنا حسین کلثوم کو گلے سے لگانا حسین گودی میں نانی جان کو اٹھانا حسین باہر کو بے کسی سے بلانا حسین باہر کو بے کسی سے بلانا حسین اور کہنا اے بہن میرا بیمار ہے اس اجڑے گھر کا قافلہ سالار ہے اس اجڑے گھر کا قافلہ سالار ہے. کہاں زینب نے سن کے بھائی پہ حسرت کی آنکھوں میں اشک آ گئے تھر آ گیا کچھ کہنا چاہتی تھی نہ بولا گیا لائی وہاں حسین کو سجاد تھے لائی وہاں حسین کو سجاد تھے کی عرض بھائی مرضیے غفار تھے غش میں پڑا ہے عابد بیمار تھے غش میں پڑا ہے عابد بیمار تھے پھر آگے بڑھ کے آ گئے سجاد کے فرمایا مبتلا مرض میرے میں ملنے کو پایا ہے ناتوان ملنے کو پایا ہے ناتوان ہم ہیں سرانے آنکھ دی تم کھولتے اب اس کے بعد بابا کو زندہ نہ پاؤ ہتھکڑیاں پہنے باپ کے لاش پہ ہتھکڑیاں پہنے باپ کے لاش پہ یہ سن کے آنکھ کھل گئی بیمار جان منزل تھی سخت دیں گے اس ترجمان نظریں ملی حسین سے جب کم زبان دیکھا کہ ایک مریض ہے صورت کا ماں دیکھا کہ ایک مریض ہے صورت کا ماں جیسے گہر میں آیا ہوا کرتا ریش حسین پہ خون کا جیسے خضاب ریش حسین پہ خون کا جیسے خضاب ہو رخصت ہوئے حسین تڑپنے لگا گر گر کے بار بار سنبھلنے لگا رش ہو گیا کبھی کبھی اٹھنے لگا رش ہو گیا کبھی کبھی اٹھنے لگا خود بے کسی پہ اپنی مچلنے لگا خود بے کسی پہ اپنی مچلنے لگا رش ہو گیا مریض کھلی آنکھ بابا کا سر دانے سرے پھولی پہ بابا کا سر دانے سرے پھولی پہ یہ عرض سلام علیک اے شہر اے یادگار خیر برا روح پر رئیس کون و مکان شاہ پر سر ہے سنا پہ لاش ہے مقتل میں پہ سر ہے سنا پہ لاش ہے مقتل میں بے ٹکڑے پڑے ہیں جسم کے عشق کے آیت جیسے واسطے بھولے بڑے ٹکڑے پڑے ہیں جسم کے آیت جیسے واسطے بھولے بڑے آیت جیس کے واسطے بھولے بڑے کیسے بیان ہو خیمے میں محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم
مومن اکرام سورہ فاتحہ کی گزارش ہے جملہ مومنین و مومنات بالخصوص شہداء ملت جعفریہ کے لیے اس میں آپ اپنے مرحومین کو بھی شامل فرمائیں ان مرحومین کو خاص کر جو ہمیشہ ہمارے درمیان موجود رہے اور اس سال نہیں ہے سورہ فاتحہ بابل بنی ہاشم صاحب کی جانب سے یکم محرم سے جو مجلس ادا کا سلسلہ شروع ہوا ہے وہ انشاءاللہ 7 ربیع الاول تک اسی طرح جاری رہے گا. یہ مجلس نماز مغربین باجماعت کے ساتھ فوراً شروع ہو جاتی ہے. 13 محرم سے 20 محرم جناب شیخ نبیل اوان صاحب مجلسوں سے خطاب فرما رہے ہیں. آپ انگلش میں خطاب کر رہے ہیں. آپ سے گزارش ہے آپ خود بھی تشریف لائیں اور اپنے بچوں کو خاص کر ان مجلسوں میں لے کر آئیں. 21 محرم سے 30 محرم جناب ڈاکٹر شفیق حسین شفق جو انڈیا سے تشریف لائے ہیں وہ یہاں پہ مجلسوں سے خطاب فرمائیں گے. یہ 1 صفر سے 10 صفر جناب ڈاکٹر حسن کمیلی آف انڈیا مجلسوں سے خطاب کریں گے. یہاں پہ یوتھ سیشن جولائی 26 فرائیڈے کو 7 بجے جناب شیخ نبیل اوان صاحب کے ساتھ یوتھ کا ہوگا. آپ سے گزارش ہے کہ اپنے بچوں کو ضرور اس میں پارٹیسپیشن کے لیے لے کر آئیں تاکہ بچے جو ہیں وہ کوشچنز آنسرز کا سیشن جو ہے جو کوشچنز ہیں وہ ڈائریکٹ شیخ سے پوچھ سکیں. باب العلم کے تمام انتظامات جتنے انتظامات یہاں پہ ہوئے جو 10 محرم 10 دنوں تک وہاں انتظامات ہمارے رہے ٹینٹ سروسز یہ سب آپ کے تعاون سے ہی ممکن ہے. آپ سے گزارش ہے کہ ان مجلسوں کو اسپانسر کریں. اسپانسر کرنے کے لیے ہمارے جینٹس ہال میں بھی ایک پوسٹر لگا ہوا ہے. لیڈیز میں بھی آپ جس دن کی مجلس کو اسپانسر کرنا چاہیں اس دن آپ اپنا نام لکھوا سکتے ہیں اور فرنٹ ڈیسک پہ ڈونیشن دے کے اس کی ٹیکسیبل رسید حاصل کر سکتے ہیں. آپ باب العلم کے محرم فنڈ میں ڈونیشن دے سکتے ہیں, بلڈنگ فنڈ میں دے سکتے ہیں, باب العلم کا مسلح ہے مسلح جو ہے اس کا ہدیہ لے سکتے ہیں اپنی طرف سے. اپنے مرحومین کی طرف سے ہمارا پلیج فارم ہے جو ہماری ہر منتھلی ایکسپینسز کو پورا کرنے کے لیے آپ سے ریکویسٹ ہوتی ہے کہ پلیج فارم کو آپ ضرور فل کریں. ممبرشپ ہماری جو ہے وہ 30 صفر تک ہے. جن مومنین نے ابھی تک ممبرشپ نہیں لی ان سے گزارش ہے وہ ممبرشپ فرنٹ ڈیسک پہ لیڈیز اور جینٹس میں فارم موجود ہیں. ہماری ویب سائٹ پہ بھی فارم ہے. وہ فارم آپ فل کرنے کے بعد آپ ہمیں جمع کرا سکتے ہیں. ممبرشپ کے 3 حصے ہیں, ریگولر ممبرشپ, فنل سروسز, دوسرا پلیج فنڈ. آپ انہیں دیکھ کے ٹیکسیبل رسید حاصل کر لیں. اور جو ہمارے مومنین اس سال ممبر بن رہے ہیں ہر سال کی طرح اس سال بھی ان کا نام زیارت ڈرا میں جائے گا اور جس کا بھی نام مومن مومنات کا جس کا بھی نام ڈرا میں آئے گا اس کو بنی ہاشم سوسائٹی اپنے خرچوں پہ زیارت کے لیے بھیجیں گے. باب العلم کے پاس خمس کا اجازت نامہ موجود ہے. آپ سے گزارش ہے کہ خمس دیکھ کے اس کی ٹیکسیبل رسید آپ حاصل کر سکتے ہیں. اس کے ساتھ ہی میں گزارش کروں گا جناب نبیل اوان صاحب سے کہ آپ تشریف لائیں آج کی مجلس سے خطاب فرمائیں. بآواز بلند صلوات.
تکبیر اللہ اکبر نعرہ رسالت نعرہ حیدری محمد اور محمد صلوات.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. بسم الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاسل حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of this azah, for the sake of our gathering and the remembrance of Abi Abdullah. Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, give victory to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, destroy every oppressor wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Abi Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All praise you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. Our discussions have been centered around that day which is the entry into eternity. After this point, after this day, there is but eternity. Either eternal damnation or eternal reward. And that time for this world, for the people of this world, will in essence continue there. What happens afterwards, what happens in this world, this itself is another beautiful discussion that the Aimma alayhim salam have spoken about. That the fifth Imam says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has finished your cycle of this world and your Qiyamat has completed and everything is finished, Allah will replace you with a race on this world, an androgynous race, a race that is neither male nor female. And all they will do is worship Allah day and night. They will not ever disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this again is a very interesting discussion, maybe for next year or the year after, we'll see, where the Aimma alayhim salam, they speak about the existence of this, what was before us, what is after us, and what lives alongside us in the planets. And what lives parallel to us in those dimensions that are parallel to us. Nonetheless, our discussion reached this point yesterday, where we began to explain the various groups that would be coming out. And I had promised that today I would give solutions to that problem, to those difficulties of that day. And I will, inshallah, if we get to it. But before that, some more groups that will be punished. There are multiple narrations. The one, I only gave you one narration yesterday from the Holy Prophet and his companion Ma'adh ibn Jabal. But there are other narrations that talk about different groups that committed different sins within this world. In a narration from Imam al-Baqir, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, because on Yawm al-Qiyamah there will be a group that will be taken out from their graves in the manner that their hands will be bound by their necks. So their hands will be tied to their necks so firmly that they won't even be able to move an inch. They won't be able to turn anywhere. And for each of them, an angel will be assigned who will walk with them, threatening them and ridiculing them, making fun of them and threatening them and pulling them into the plains of Mahshar. They asked the Imam, who were these people? What sin did they commit that they are facing this adhab? The Imam says, these were the people who in this dunya were given immense wealth by Allah. They were given wealth by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they acted like misers. They didn't use that wealth to help other people. They didn't spend it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just kept it all to themselves. So these are those people. Amir al-Mu'mineen has a very interesting saying in Nahj al-Balagha. He says, I'm shocked at the man that is rich in this world, but lives like a poor man. Because when he dies, he will still be questioned as a rich man. So would he not rather spend that wealth than sit on it? Because in the end, he's still going to be questioned at the same degree, with the same severity of his wealth. So this group that is brought in are those that were given wealth, but they never spent it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They withheld it. They wouldn't give in the way, like there's various ways you can spend in the way of Allah. Your sadaqat, your khums, your zakat, the various things that you give in the way of Allah, the majalis, all of these things. These are those giving in the way of Allah. When Allah says in the Holy Quran, that is there anyone that will give Allah alone? It's not that Allah needs it. As we've explained, Allah doesn't need your loan. He doesn't need the money. Money is something that is part and parcel of His creation. And so, the reason for giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so that an individual can receive tenfold back. Inshallah, this we'll talk about as well in the coming nights. In another narration, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says there will be an individual who Allah will fill his grave. From the moment he enters into the grave, his grave will be filled with fire until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And as soon as he comes out of the grave, around him will be a huge python that will erupt itself around him and will continue to bite at his flesh constantly until ultimately he will be thrown into hell. They said, Ya Rasulullah, who are these people that will be dropped in graves of fire, and when they're raised, there will be this python that is wrapped around them, constantly biting them until they ultimately end up in hell? The Holy Prophet says these were the individuals in the world that used to do riba. They used to backbite. I saw someone do something wrong. A mu'min, I saw him do something wrong. Nobody else saw it. Now I go and I tell other people. I saw this person do wrong. I saw that person do, I saw him do this. This is riba. And you will not be forgiven. Say, but why not? I'm telling the truth. Of course, because you're telling the truth, that's why it's called riba. If you were lying, you'd be called tuhmat. When you expose the flaws of another believer, expose the sins of another believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish you in this way on the day of judgment. Another individual raised on the day of judgment in the manner that he is bound by chains of fire, and he's brought in front of the people in this cursed state, in this disheveled state. These chains are on fire. And remember what I said previously. This is the realm where there is no death. There is no, your nerve endings are not going to burn off. They're just going to remain. And the intensity of the pain is over 1,000 times what you would experience here in this world. And he will be brought in front of the people, and they will be cursing him in front of the people, and Allah will have him thrown face first into the fire of hell. They'll say, but who is this person? Says this is the individual who in the dunya looked with eyes of lust towards an al-Haram. This itself is a disease of the soul. Certain people, when they don't learn to control their eyes as they grow up, they end up taking this habit to them to their old age. And you will see many people who still can't control their eyes. Even at a ripe old age, they'll see an al-Mahram and they'll just stare. And they can't control it. Why? Because when they were younger, they didn't control it. It's just, oh, I'm just staring. The horrible habit anyway, just to stare at someone, make them feel awkward, but then to look at an al-Mahram with those lustful eyes. Such to the extent that that person becomes known for it in a community. Imam al-Kadhim salawatullah wa salamu alayhi says our Shi'as are the ones that the muhaddarat, the honorable women of a town, bear witness to their chastity. They say that this man is a good man. He doesn't look at haram, he doesn't attempt to do any haram. He says those are our Shi'as, that the noble women of a city bear witness to their chastity. Another group, the Holy Prophet says, will be taken out from the grave and will have two tongues. One tongue coming out the front, one tongue coming out the back, and both of them will be made of fire. And they will be pulled by that tongue into the plains of Mahshar. Being pulled with it. Imagine a tongue that is on fire, then you're being pulled with it as well. And one tongue is out the back, and that's also on fire, setting fire to the whole body of this individual. Brought into the plains of Mahshar. They asked the Prophet, who was this person? What was his crime? Says, this is that individual who had two tongues and two faces in this world. When he was with one group, he acted in one way. When he was with the other group, he acted in another way. When he sat with one person, he said certain things. When he went to the other group, he changed his opinions and he would play that group as well. Like a chameleon, he changed his colors in whichever place that he went. And if you see someone who does that, be wary of that person. Because if they are speaking in a certain way, or someone that is doing riba to you about someone else, it is highly likely that they will go and do your riba to someone else as well. These groups, and there are many other groups. A few people have asked me that what books can they read to be able to know more, because I'm only giving you a whistle-stop tour of the Day of Judgment. There is so much more. So those that are interested, Manazil al-Akhirah of Sheikh Abbas Qummi, you can have a look at that book, Ma'ad of Ayatollah Dastaghaib Shirazi. Manazil al-Akhirah, the stations of the Akhirah, and also Ma'ad by Ayatollah Dastaghaib Shirazi. Both are available in English as well as Farsi, Arabic, and also Urdu. So those that are interested can go and read it. And in Manazil al-Akhirah, Sheikh Abbas Qummi, he goes right from the start, from death to the Barzakh to Yawm al-Qiyamah, these three stages that the person goes through. So now that these individuals have been brought into the plains of Mahshar, now comes the second stage, the books, the handing of the book. It is such that the believers and the disbelievers, all of them will be handed two scrolls, two books. One will be a book of good deeds, one will be a book of bad deeds, and they will be either handed to them in their right hand or in their left hand. Those that receive it in their right hand will be those who will be blessed with going to Jannah. Those that receive it in their left hand, they are, for all intents and purposes, destined to hell. But there is a third group of individuals at this moment. The first group are receiving the scrolls in their right. The second group are receiving the scrolls in the left. The third group are a group that have no scrolls. They're not receiving anything. And why is that? So one of two reasons. The first is that in this dunya all they did was good and there is no sin for them, and thus there is no need for them to have a book, and straight away they entered into heaven. Or the second group are those who have committed such sins that now they have no good left on their Name Amal, and thus they know that they're destined for hell, and so they're sent straight to hell. There's no good deeds at all. And you'll see, as we go into the discussion, that there are certain sins and certain deeds that you will do that will trump everything else. That will remove all of your good deeds, or they will remove all of your sins. One matter. It is very possible. So on that day, when they are given these books, the caller will call out, Iqra' kitabik. Says, read your book. Read it yourself. We're not going to read it for you. We're not going to play it out for you. Read your own book. كفى بنفسك حسيب. كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. It is enough that you are a judge for yourself on this day. You decide where you need to go. And so people will begin to look at their books. ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة. What is this book that you have given me? It does not omit the small or the large. Everything is within it. That is Yawm al-Qubla Sarair. That's one of the names of Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day when the secrets will be exposed. Everything that you hid from the world, the sins that I hide from the world on that day, will manifest in front of everyone. There will be no escape from them. There will be a group, when we come to talking about the judgment, I'll give you a precursor to that, because tomorrow and the day after, tomorrow we'll talk about the judgment. And then inshallah, the judgment and the sirat, and then the final lecture, I will explain to you from start to end how the shifa of Ahlul Bayt works, from the moment you die till the moment it comes to you crossing the sirat. There is a journey with Ahlul Bayt along this way as well, but with conditions. But that's for the final night.
There
will be people on that day when their books are handed to them in their left hand, and they will say, "There's something wrong. Ya Allah, I can't remember. This is no. Someone's written something wrong here." I say, "No, we don't make errors. No. I disagree. I want to review. I want to review these angels that were sitting there writing." There'll be some people, even on that day, they'll be like this. So, no, I don't agree. I'm sure I didn't do this. I'm sure I didn't do that. They've got it wrong. You've given me someone else's results. There's going to be a problem. And this is that moment that Surah Yasin talks about. This person will be arguing. So we will seal their mouth. And their hands and their feet will begin to talk. After the hands and the feet have given their testimony as to what this person has done, his mouth will be reopened. And he will call out to his hands and feet, "Why did you sell me out like that? Why is it that you said, no, we only speak haqq." In front of Allah, we told him exactly what it is that you did. There's no escape on that day. Nowhere, anywhere you turn, anywhere you try to maneuver, you can't physically move, you can't physically talk your way out of it. This is what Amir al-Mu'mineen is referring to in the Aquaman. Is it possible that I could flee your kingdom? Here I can talk about whatever I want. Here I can act in whichever way I want. Here I can run away from my wajibat. Here I can ignore the muharramat. But over there is no ignoring. There is no freedom. There is no movement, no speech, no thought until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows it to happen. So those that are given the book of deeds in their right hand, the narration says, like children, they will begin to jump with happiness. And they will run to others and say, look at what my scroll of deeds says. Look at what Allah is blessing me with. Look at what Allah has given me with. And they will be told, you have no fear, nothing to worry about. Wait until your entry into Jannah. But those that are given their book of deeds in their left hand, then those people, their reaction is different. They'll say, woe unto me. How I wish that this book was never given to me, because now it has damned me to hell. Both of them are being given these. There's no escape from it. So what are the solutions? Part solution. Allah, over the coming nights, will give you more solutions as we progress with the journey on that day. The first solution to many of the problems of the adabs of the akhirah, these are very simple, practical things. The first is the ghusl of the day of Jum'ah. Whosoever is regular with the ghusl of the day of Jum'ah will be saved from the adab of the qabr. That person will not face the adab of the qabr. And we in this series haven't looked at the grave and the adab of the grave in the first night and the questioning of Munkar and Nakir, and before that the angel Rahman. That itself is its own series. So doing the ghusl on the day of Jumu'ah. The second thing that brings mercy is the recitation of Surah Al-Mulk. Don't wait till you're dead to have someone recite it. Be regular with the recitation of Surah Al-Mulk yourself. After Isha is recommended. Every day that you recite Surah Al-Mulk. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about life, He talks about death. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Says we created life and we created death. Both are constructs. For what reason? ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. To see who of you can do the best, the most beautiful of actions. And there is also the third solution. One who does good actions. It seems straightforward, but sometimes we try and look for a way out of all of the problems and all of the things that we are going to face in the akhirah, and we try and look for a solution, but the solution is really quite simple. Do not commit any haram and fulfill the wajibat. It's as simple as that. One of the things that is extremely helpful to a person on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and arguably before that, there are very few things that match this. It is also the opposite of it is the biggest thing that will damn a person to hell. And that is the individual who wants happiness and ease on Yawm al-Qiyamah should bring ease and happiness to the heart of a mu'min in the dunya. Do something for a mu'min. Make their life easier in some way. Even if it's simply as something as simple as straightening their shoes or, bringing them a cup of tea, whatever it is. Run towards doing good for another mu'min. One of the characteristics of Zakaria alayhi salam and Yahya alayhi salam that is spoken about in the Holy Quran, يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ. They would run towards doing good. When you get the opportunity to serve another mu'min, run to do that good. Because its maqam is so high to help another mu'min. And we're not saying, help another mu'min with your finances, with your money. Although this is one of the sifat of the Shia. The 6th Imam says, امتحنوا شيعتنا عند الثلاث. Test our Shias at 3 occasions. عند مواقيت الصلاة كيف محافظتهم. The first is test him at the time of Salah and see how he protects that Salah's timing. If he's doing something else at the time of Salah, he's not one of our Shias. If he's our Shia, he will be praying when it is the time of Salah. The second thing, وَعِنْدَ أَسْرَارِنَا, and with our secrets, see how he hides them from our enemies. The wilayah taqweeniya of Ahl al-Bayt is only for those that are sahib iman, that have that level of faith. You can't go and tell anyone that is na'ahd, someone who is not worthy of hearing of the maqam of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, of the taqweeni maqam of Ahl al-Bayt. And the third thing the Imam says, وَعِنَّ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, and the third is with his wealth. See how he uses it to help his brother. See how he uses it to help his fellow mu'min. So aiding the mu'min In fact, the hadith says, when someone makes the niyyah, now note what I'm saying, the niyyah, intention, to solve the problems of a mu'min. Someone comes to me with a problem and I say, you know what? I'm going to help this person. I just make that niyyah. The narration says, the moment you make that niyyah and you take one step, whether or not you complete it or not is a different matter. I want to go and help another one. I take a step towards that, but I never reach on time. But the fact that I made the niyyah to go there, what happens? 75,000 angels are sent down to surround this person, and they remain with him until Yawm al-Qiyamah. What did he do? Just make the niyyah of helping another mu'min. And with everything that he does, like with the intention he's made, 75,000 malaika come down. And for every single step he takes, one sin of his is forgiven, one good is written for him, and one level in the akhirah is raised for him. For what? Just making the niyyah of helping another mu'min. Islam is about the collective. It is about the collective. There is no individual in Islam. It is about the collective. That's why it's so much stress has been put on Hajj together, Salah in Jama'ah, all of these. If you get 40 mu'mineen at your Salatul Mayyit, even if you have many sins, but when those 40 mu'mineen say, Allahumma la na'lamu minhu illa khayra, we know nothing of this person but good, Allah says, you know what, I'll keep husnul dhan of this person, I'll forgive him. It is about the collective in Islam, protecting the collective. Not about living an individual life. No, it's about visiting mu'mineen. It is, for example, one of the a'mal of the day of Ghadir is that you go to the house of another mu'min. You actively go to the house of another mu'min. And that mu'min should welcome you, should feed you, should celebrate with you. And the thawab of it is insane. Just for visiting a mu'min on Yawm al-Ghadir. Why? Because it's about the collective. This person makes a niyyah to help another mu'min. For example, there's a mu'min whose tire has gone flat. He rings me and he says, can you go and help? I make the niyyah to go and help. Yes, I'm coming right now. I step up. Straight away, 75,000 angels. I walk to my car. With every step that I take, a sin is forgiven and good is written. My darajat, my levels in the akhirah are raised. I get in my car, I drive. Now those are more steps. Along the way, my own tire goes flat. I never make it. So it doesn't matter. You have the niyyah to help. So we'll give you everything. It's about the niyyah. People on the day of judgment will run around begging, trying to find one extra deed that they can balance the scales with, to increase it to one side so that they can enter into Jannah. There are two types of good deed in this world. The first good deed is to Allah, it's directly to Allah. But the first is pleasing Allah direct. The second, which is more important, is pleasing Allah through His creation. By doing something for the creation of Allah. Since this has more weight than trying to please Allah direct. There are people who cut themselves off from communities because I have a problem with one person and I cut myself off from the whole jama'ah. I cut myself off from the whole community and I live like a hermit all alone. I don't want to meet anyone else. That person is doing wrong. because they're missing out on all of the barakah of being amongst the mu'mineen. To live an isolated life there is no concept of it. It is about the collective, pleasing Allah through His ibad. In fact, Amir Mumni has this beautiful khutbah in Nahj al-Balagh, and he begins it like this. Says, I won't do the Arabic in case I get it wrong, but he says, praise be to that Lord that did tajalli to His khalq, bi-khalqih. Says that he made Himself manifest to His creation through His creation. To His creation through His creation. So when you aid the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is greater than you trying to please Allah. If someone is trying to please Allah and says, no, I don't want to talk to any mu'min, or has fallen out with another mu'min, his dua, his salah, it's for nothing. Because until you have not helped the other believers, until you have not made up with the believer whose heart you have hurt or broken, there is no salvation for that individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that there are 72 rahmah in total. Of the rahmah of Allah, of the mercy of Allah, 72 parts of it. There are 72 parts of it. One part of that rahmah is in this world. Is in this world. In everything that you see, in helping in praying towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of that, everything, all the rahmah you see in this world is that one part. It says, but the 71 parts have been reserved for in the akhirah for the person who helps other mu'mineen. Imagine the one who just does the smallest thing. The person doesn't even need to know you did it. Sometimes we do this midnight, like we've done something for someone, now we want them to acknowledge that we've done it. And actually that acknowledgement, it destroys everything good that you've done. If you're doing something and seeking acknowledgement, destroy. This is ajab. The Holy Prophet says that alim that enters into a gathering and he expects people to stand for him and give him salam, says he should prepare himself to go to hell. The alim who enters a gathering and expects in his mind, he has an expectation that people should stand for me. So he should prepare himself for hell. Urgent self-conceit. When you're doing something, you just do it qurbatan ilallah. You're helping the makhluk of Allah qurbatan ilallah. That's what matters. That's what matters. Sayyid Mahdi Qawwam was one of the great, he was also mujtahid, but he hadn't announced hadn't released the risala or anything. But he was known in Tehran as one of the great scholars. But there was one thing about him, that he would go to the area and those marketplaces where all the gangsters were. The gangsters, the thieves, the murderers, and he would go and he would sit with them. People would say to him, it's not a good look. He says, no, doesn't matter. And when Sayyid Mahdi Qawwam died, the whole of the haram of Sayyidah Ma'asuma, he's buried in the haram of Sayyidah Ma'asuma. The whole of the haram of Sayyidah Ma'asuma was filled with these gangsters of Tehran. The whole of it. They'd all come to his funeral to bid him farewell. One day, Sayyid Mahdi Qawwam, there was a flood in Tehran. And those of you that have been, they have these large canals, like these drains that are there to take away the wastewater or any flood water. Sayyid Mahdi had just led the salah and he was coming out. And he saw a group of people that were gathered. And he went over to see what they were all looking at. And there was a dog in the water. And the dog was going under the water and his head was coming up. He was stuck. He couldn't get out. His head was going under, and the people looking like, what do we do? Said Mahdi Qawam takes off his amama, takes off his abba, his qaba, puts it on the side, he jumps into the water. That animal that is najisul ayn, he holds it to his body and he brings it out of the water and he puts it aside. Now shakes it, the dog shakes himself off and walks up. Said Mahdi picks up his amam and everything and he walks on home. The makhluk of Allah is not just the human beings. The environment also has a responsibility over us. Also has a responsibility over us. If I have this level of ajab that I can't go and touch there's a dog in distress, oh, please, I'm not going to go anywhere near it, then there's a big problem. It's in distress, oh, I don't want to go near it, I'm not going to hell. I'll be answerable for these things. I'll be answerable for them. Many, many stories like this of individuals who, just through one good action, they ended up to a dog. There's one alim, and his name escapes me, but he was extremely poor. When he was in Najaf, extremely poor. But by the end of his life, when he moved back to Isfahan, he was the richest man in Isfahan. He was so rich that the Shah would ask his permission before entering into Isfahan. That's how rich this alim became. He was so poor in Najaf, so poor that he used to fast and he couldn't afford meat whatsoever. His wife, children, so they would just eat whatever leftover vegetables they could find and eat that. Some months he was saving, so that he could buy some meat. So however long, 6, 7 months he saved his stipend that he was getting a little bit at a time. And he finally managed to get enough money together to buy a little piece of meat. It's been over a year that he hasn't had any meat. So he buys a little to go. So he goes to the butcher's and he buys the cheapest cut of meat. Can't afford anything more. This is his situation. He gives it. He buys that little bit of meat and he's coming back. As he's coming back, there's a dog. She's lying on the ground. And her pups are around her. And she's tired, she seems weak. And the pups are trying to drink milk from her, but she's got no milk. And so the pups themselves are suffering. This alim, he looks at the dog and he opens up the meat. And he takes it and he throws it all to the dog. He feeds it. She eats the meat and she looks at him in a way to thank him. Wag her tail and thanks him. And this alim, he went on his way. His family are like, you went to get meat. It was a dog. I gave it. That dog's looking up at him was a dua that dog did. In a short few weeks, that alim had a very wealthy relative who died. And he inherited all of the wealth, all of the business, to the extent that he became the richest person in Isfahan. Doing good to the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the one thing that will help you more than anything in the akhirah. If in this dunya you do good to someone, your akhirah will be one of extreme ease. But if in this dunya you do evil towards people, then both your dunya and your akhirah will be one of damnation. In this world, no one will remember you with any good words, as is the case with those that were part of that attack on Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam in Karbala. Each and every one of them that sought to kill Abu Abdullah. The level of dhulm that befell Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and then after on his family, I've said previously, is beyond comprehension. No, I can't comprehend that moment that, as I said to you yesterday, he comes to the body of his Ali, and 3 times he's putting his ear to the mouth of Ali Akbar, that maybe he might still be breathing. And the army just stood around, the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, they stood around and they clapped and they laughed at Imam al-Hussein. That level of depravity cannot be understood. And it became even worse after the death of Abi Abdullah. When the head of Imam al-Hussein was severed, and straight away the head was sent to Kufa. I said to you the other day, straight away he was sent with holy to Kufa. His head was severed, the tents were burnt. Many children were killed in that burning. Many children were trampled under the hooves of horses as they tried to run away. And then came the 11th of Muharram, a day that was extremely difficult for the daughters of Ali and Batul. That sense of loneliness that they had. That Zainab looked to her left and looked to her right. نظرت شمالا ويمينا وقالت وا عباسا. She looked to her left and right, and then she called out, Wa Abbasa, Wa Akbar, where are you all? And then the women being taken through the bodies of the shuhada, and each of them throwing themselves on the bodies of their shuhada. There comes a time where Sakina, the 4-year-old daughter of Abi Abdullah, she runs to the body of Imam al-Hussein. All of the women ran and all of them were moved off the body. But this 4-year-old daughter of Imam al-Hussein, when she threw herself on the body of Abi Abdullah, they say she held on to the body so tightly that they tried to move her, but she wouldn't get up. So then the Maqtal says, اجتمعت عليها عدة من الأعراب فجروها عن جسد أبيها. They surrounded her from all 4 sides and they pulled her from the body of her father. This فجروها عن جسد أبيها tells us that she was holding on to the body of Abu Abdullah with so much force. She didn't want to let go, but they pull her from the body of her father, and then they place them on saddleless camels, and they're taken towards Kufa. And the state of Ahlul Bayt, when they enter into Kufa, if you read the Mahathir, said that they entered, their clothing was disheveled and covered in the dust of the journey. The faces of the ladies was burnt from the heat of the sun. And the Mahathir describes Sajjad alayhi salam, says that, and Sajjad was there, and there was blood pouring from both sides of his neck. And the people of Kufa welcomed them in what way? With drums and clapping and laughing at the daughters of Ali and Batul. It gets to a point where they bring them to the central marketplace, and everyone around them is jeering and laughing at them. At one point, Aqila Zainab Salamullah alayha sits up on her camel. She points to each of the people in the crowd. فَأَبْتَدَّتِ الْأَنْفَاسُ وَسَكَنَتِ الْإِجْرَاسِ. Their breath stopped in their chest, and the bells stopped ringing around the necks of the animals. And then Zainab began to speak to them. O people of Kufa, do you know what heart of Rasulullah you have destroyed? Do you know what crime you have committed? Zainab begins to recite her khutbah, and they begin to cry loudly. One by one, that marketplace fills with the tears, realizing what Zainab is saying. The army say that how do we stop Zainab from speaking? What will stop her?
they say bring the head of Hussein alayhi salam. Remember, Zainab hasn't seen the head of Abi Abdullah. It was taken on after Ashra Ashur. It was brought to Kufa. Now they bring the head of a spear. The head is reciting Quran. When Zainab sees the head and hears the Quran, she falls silent out of respect. When the head of Abi Abdullah stops reciting, she goes towards the head of her brother. She looks at it, tears falling from her eyes. Ya Hilal al-Nammastakum Kamala. Oh Hilal of Zainab. Oh the Hilal of Zainab that was never able to reach its full potential. She begins to tell him, Hussein, they beat us along the way. Hussein, they hit your sajjad along the way. Whenever there would be anything, they would whip your sajjad. And then at that moment she says to him, Ya Hussein, Fatima Sadina takallamaha. Father, speak to your youngest Fatima, your Sakina, for she has been waiting for you since Karbala. They take the ladies into the camp, into the palace of Ibn Ziyad. And you hear of what happens. Ibn Ziyad, they place the head of Abi Abdullah in front of him. And he begins to hit the blessed lips and the face of Imam al-Hussein with his stick. At that point, a man by the name of Zayd ibn Arqam comes forward. He says, Ibn Ziyad, stop. For by Allah, I witness with my own eyes that the Prophet of God would kiss these very lips. I have witnessed with my own eyes that the Prophet of God would kiss this head. Zayd ibn Arqam is thrown out from that. In that melee, the Makkah says that there was one lady who had not spoken since Ashura. One lady that you had not delivered a single khutbah or uttered a single word, but at this point she was unable to contain herself. Rabab ran forward towards the head of Abi Abdullah. She picks up the blessed head of Imam al-Hussein. She says, Oh Hussein, oh my master, my salam be upon that head, and that body that lies under the burning sun of Karbala. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون مات من حسين.
ہے دھوپ میں تو شجر تجھ سے آباد تھا گھر ہے برکھاں میرا سر کیا نہیں تجھ کو خبر اے علمدار وفا اس بہن کو خدا جس نے ڈھالی بڑی قبر دادا سے چھینی سزا تیری رہی اے کیا کہوں شیر میرے تیرے داغم بولیے اے مسلمان سارے ہر درش گئے فتح کوفہ کبھی فتح شام کبھی اور غم جب رضا سے شیرینی سزا تیری رہی ہے کتنی بے بس تھی میں شہر کا وفا ہم نے دیکھے میرا جب یہ ظالم کہا از تھا جس پہ تجھے اب بلانا سے اور میں رونے لگی جب دادا سے چھینی سزا تیری اے جب چلی شیخ چلی اے میرے شیر جلی ہاتھ ملکی تھی بہن کچھ قدم دور کھڑی ہٹ گیا شہر کا گلا آئے باقی صدا تجھ کو گئے سے پہ دی دادا سے چھینی سزا تیری رہی اے رویا رے خان قلم کر کے یہ بات رقم خون میں ڈوب گیا میرے غازی عالم اپنی زینب خاجی گئے تو پیشاں کا کسرے آئے خیموں شبیر جب دادا سے چھینی سزا تیری السلام علیکم یا رسول اللہ السلام علیکم نبی اللہ السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم وعلیکم ابی طالب السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم سید النساء العالمین السلام علیکم رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا حسن ابن علی مصطفیٰ ابن رسول اللہ ابن امیر المومنین السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا ابا عبداللہ حسین السلام علیکم رسول اللہ السلام علیکم ابن امیر المومنین السلام علیکم سید الوسطین السلام علیکم شیخ الشہید السلام علیکم مظلوم لعنت اللہ علی الظالمین السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علی الحسین وعلی آل الحسین وعلی آل الحسین وعلی أصحاب الحسين خصوصا السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا الغفار ابن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا أبا الصالح عبد الله ورسوله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلام عليك يا وعي الضعفاء والفقراء السلام عليك شرف الشموس أيها المذكور أيها الراضي بالقدر والقضاء السلطان يا ربي والعجم السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولانا صاحب الزمان السلام عليك شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان يا سيدي أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك أنصار الجميع ورحمة الله وبركاته
كل ولي حجة من الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في ساعة وفي كل ساعة ولي ناصرا ودليلا وأين حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. نعرة حيدري.